What is your roll number, sir? Good evening, students. I hope so. I'm audible. Okay. Okay, students, in a minute of time, we will start the session. Okay, students, we will start our session now. Let me start with the example project. Before getting into the example project, you need to know this session, the goal of this session is to prepare you for the examination. The goal is to prepare for the global certification exam. You may get any question in the exam. You should be ready to solve it. Be clear. You may get any question in the exam. You should be in a position to solve that. So the motive of this session is to prepare you for the exam in terms of getting any question. You should be ready to solve it. Okay. To proceed with this, we will start with our example project. I am not going to open Code Studio today. First of all, I'm being very clear on that. But all the annotations in every chapter wise, task wise, we are going to discuss. So I had collected few annotations from a big PDF and also few page numbers to refer. All these I'm going to discuss with you in this session. At last, I will give you this file and the PDF, which we are going to work today now, so that you can refer it later. Okay. To start with the example project, we are going to have two classes. First class, public class, classroom. So I'm going to have first class as classroom. Second class, I'm going to have public class student. These two classes I'm going to have. As much as possible, I will incorporate the annotations in all the concepts in these two classes and few more, 2, 3 classes, which are not possible. I will directly type the topic, and then we will discuss the annotations. Okay. Assuming these two classes are entity classes, so I'm going to make it as entity. That means database related classes. Let me have few variables inside the class. In student class, I'm going to have ID, string name. Let me have the date of birth of the students, date DOB. And then we will have the CGPA of student. Okay. Similarly, in classroom class, I'm going to have int ID, classroom ID, string. Let me have a description for the classroom. Okay. So these two variables, I'm going to have it in classroom, and 4 variables, I'm going to have it in student. Okay. I want to make the validation in these variables. Okay. The validations on these variables. How to make validation, you know now. So how to make validation? What is the annotation for validation? For ID, what validation I can do? See, regarding validation, I will type a few annotations. You can know about that. Then you can guide or you can say on this aspect. Okay. Validation annotation. So what are all the validation annotations? First one, at the rate ID. Second, at the rate size. You have to say what is the size actually. You cannot write directly at the rate size without parenthesis. So you have to write min, max, like that, min 4, max 10. Like that, you have to say size, the length. Okay. This is for length. Length of the string. Okay. Third one, I can have at the rate ID, size, not null, not null. Fourth one, we will have null. See, students, I'm requesting you all to listen because this session will give you a lot of information on the annotations, which will help you in the exam. Okay. Then fifth one, min. So you can say what is the minimum number expected. This is for integer. Okay. Integer minimum. And then the sixth one is max. This is for integer maximum. Then for decimal, we are having decimal min. Then inside double quotes, you have to say about the decimal min. Even though it is a number, you should take the double quotes. So decimal min 2.5 and then decimal max 25.2 and then pattern. For pattern, okay, all these are annotations. Okay, so you should use symbol. For pattern, you are having the attribute called regular expression regexp equal to, you have to give the pattern here. Okay, whatever the pattern they are giving, you have to give it here, or whatever the pattern you want to type, you have to type it here. Okay, then 10th one, past, this is for date. Okay, if it is wrong, like if the date is not passed, you can say message equal to the date should be passed. These are sample message. Okay, whatever the message you want to give, according to that you should give. Then future, here also you can give message equal to the date should be future. Then 12th one, assert false, assert false. This is for Boolean checking. Okay, Boolean value should be false. Then 13th one is assert true. Okay, this is for Boolean value should be true. So @ID is not validation. You can say, you can have it as @ID is the entity based annotation. Okay, database based annotation. Validation, one more validation we have missed. Total 13 validations. Null. Null also there. Digits. Digits. For digits, it should be integer equal to some number. Okay. Fraction equal to some number. If you say like this, you may have something like 12.123. Maybe different numbers also, but before dot 2 numbers, after dot 3 numbers. Okay. Integer I small, fraction f small only. Okay, these are attribute values. So these are the 13 annotations which are based on validation. Now these annotations we will apply it here. Okay. For ID, what kind of annotations you can use? You say for ID, what kind of annotation I will use? I can use at the rate. What kind of annotation? Not null. At the rate, not null. Okay. Suppose if it is null, then I can give a message. This should not be null. Okay. Then what other annotations I can use? The ID should be minimum 1 and maximum it can be within 100 classrooms. Okay. So total 100 classrooms. So I'm saying 1 to 100 it should be. Okay. Then for description, I can use size. Size of description minimum should be 50 characters. Minimum 50 characters. I'm saying size. I'm not saying maximum. I'm saying minimum only. Okay. It's up to you. You can say either min or either max or both min and max. Then for this student, what I can say? For the student ID value, same not null, I'm saying. Okay. Then for name, I can say at the rate. Only I can use size. Let me use size. At the rate size, minimum character should be 4 characters. Then for date, I can use past. Date of birth should be past date. No? It should not be present or future date, right? So I'm using at the rate past. Message is optional only. If you want, you can use it. Okay. At the rate past. Then for CGPA, I'm going to say at the rate decimal min 0.0 within double quotes. At the rate decimal max 10.0. So CGPA should be from 0 to 10. Okay. So annotation, validation annotations I had applied. Whichever is applicable, I had applied. In your exam, whatever they are asking to you, accordingly, you should apply. You should apply one of the 13 validation annotations here. Okay. They might ask you to apply 4 times, 5 times, 6 times for different variables. They will give you class name and the corresponding variable name. You have to go there and whatever they are saying, according to that, okay, according to that, you have to apply this validation annotation. Is it clear? I have given you 13 validation annotations, right? 13 validation annotations. You should apply these validation annotations in the project, right? Shall we move to the next one? 13 validation annotations. Okay. Now, since it is an entity class, I should say the primary key. The primary key is at the rate ID. Okay. For both the case, I'm saying at the rate ID. And then I can have auto-generated value. Okay, I can have auto-generated value for the student. For that purpose, I can use at the rate generated value, at the rate generated value, strategy equal to generation type dot auto. It may be auto or identity. Okay, I'm using auto. This will make the values to be auto generated. Okay. Now, if you want to change the table name, okay, I can change it like this at the rate table name equal to, I can give another name for table. Okay, instead of student, I'm giving stu underscore table. It is possible to change the name like this. And then if you want to change the column name, you can change column name equal to, you can say different name in the database. As per Java, it is only name. As per database, it is stu underscore name. Okay. So I'm having different table name and column name for student class. But for classroom, it is going to be same, right? Now, let me have a table relationship. Okay, entity class relationship between these two, student and classroom. Okay, for that purpose, I'm going to create classroom space classroom. The first classroom is the class, second classroom is the object. And similarly, I will create not classroom space classroom. I should create student space student in this first class. Student space student. See, in classroom table, I am creating student column. That means classroom is mapping the student. Okay. Similarly, in student table, I will create classroom column. Understood? Student table, classroom column, classroom table, student column. Now, I should establish the relationship. The relationship can be, okay, I'm going to type the relationships here. Entity class relationship. It can be one to one. Okay. Second one, many to one, and one to many. That means in either side it will be one side, it will be many to one, another side it will be one to many. Third, it can be many to many. So three kinds of relationship possible. I'm saying with the at the rate symbol here. So all these are annotations. In this relationship, you can use few more annotations also. What are the annotations you can use means at the rate, join column. Okay. And then you can say name equal to column name. This is very similar to at the rate column, but at the rate column will change the normal column value in the database. Column name, normal column name in the database. At the rate join column will change the foreign key column name in the database. So I'm writing, it will change the foreign key column in the database. Foreign key column of the database. Okay. Then few more also there. You are having at the rate join table. Okay. At the rate join table. For join table, there will be three attributes. Okay, there will be three attributes. One is name, another one is join column, another one is inverse join columns. Name equal to, then join column equal to, then inverse join column. We should say columns actually. Inverse join columns equal to. So three things it will be there. Okay. So you should use here, instead of double quotes, you should use here @join column annotation here. Okay, wow. Instead of double quotes, you should use annotation join column. You know, for join column annotation, we will have name equal to. Already we had na here join column name equal to. Similarly, join column name equal to, you can give the name. Okay. So three attributes. Name of the table. I can say name of the new table. Okay. Name of the new table. It's not about the previous two table, student table or classroom table. It's a name of a new table. Okay. This we will use it only for many to many annotation. We will use @join table only for @many to many relationship. Okay, we will use join table only for @many to many relationship. So you should give the new table name. Okay. For example, I can say the table name like student and then associated with the classroom. Like this, I can say student cross class. This is a table name. Okay. And I can say the column name. We know it will use the ID value. So new column name, it is not the previous column name. I'm saying the column name as student ID. Okay. And another column name as class ID. Okay. So this is the way we have to write join table notation. So what are the notations are there? One to one, many to one. Okay. Many to many, right? So these annotations, we are going to use it. Now we will use the annotation. So coming to classroom and student, let me first come into classroom. In classroom, what annotation I will write here about the student? Assuming I'm going to have one classroom, many students. Okay, one classroom. Let me type one classroom and many students. One classroom and many students. Then what annotation I will type here? One classroom, many students. So one to many. Okay, ma'am. It will be one to many. Then I should write mapped by, it should be mapped by the another class name. That means in the another class you will have object for current class now, that class one. Okay, one to many mapped by the current class is classroom. For classroom, in the second class you'll be creating object, right? So that object, so I'm copying that one and I'm making it here. So if I'm saying one to many, one classroom, many students, right? Many students, then I should say this is list of students. Since I'm saying many, I should say list of students. Okay, well, list should be imported from java.util package. then list of student, then student is the object. Then by default, you should understand by default the fetch type is eager, but even though you can able to say if you require fetch type dot eager. This is used to fetch the data eagerly. Okay. There is one more option. You can also say fetch equal to fetch type dot lazy. Okay. There is one more option to you. You can also say fetch equal to fetch type lazy. That one I will write it in the above one for your reference. Here, this is one to many. So in one to many, mapped by classroom, fetch equal to fetch type dot lazy. Okay. This one will do lazy fetching. By default, I said the fetch type is eager only, but you can able to say this. Then here what you will write in classroom, one classroom or many student, right? So this is student class, many student associated with single classroom, many student associated with single classroom. So at the rate many to one. Okay. Then if you want to write join column, you should write join column here only. Join column name equal to, you can say CR. CR is the classroom, but it is optional. I'm saying this is an optional one. If you want to change the foreign key column name in database, then you can use it. I'm writing here. If you want to change the foreign key column name in database, then use @join column. Okay. But I don't want to use it now. So I'm commenting this. Okay. So this is the way you have to make relationship between the entity class. Now, suppose if you have many to many relationship, for example, I'm having many classroom and many student. Okay. In that case, I'm just writing it here. Many to many relationship. In that case, how to write? I'm just writing public class student and then another class public class classroom. So in classroom, I had student. This one I will copy. Okay. In classroom, I had student. Now, here instead of one to many, I have to write many to many. Same mapped by classroom fetch equal to fetch type dot eager, you can use, no issue. Another side, I am having classroom. That means inside student, I'm having classroom space classroom. Here you can write many to many. Okay, many to many. Then in next line, you can write this join table annotation. Okay, join table annotation. In this join table annotation, I'm going to have student cross classroom This is the name of new table, third table. And in join columns, I am giving current student ID to store one column name, one new column name I am giving, which is the current student ID to get stored. And then the opposite class ID to get stored. One new column name I'm saying. Okay. So first I'm saying here, this is the new table. This is a new column for current class ID. And this is a new column for another class ID. Okay. Clear now? Name, join columns, inverse join columns. Everywhere you are using join column annotation. This is for many to many. Suppose if it is one to one, right? Suppose if it is one to one relationship, that also I will say how to write. That is very simple. One to one relationship. Then I will have same student and classroom class. Here join table will not come. Join column is optional. So I'm leaving it. One to one. Both sides should be one to one. And here also mapped by will come, and fetch is optional. You can give it as eager or for eager or lazy. Okay. But by default, it is eager only. Okay. And then you can also say one more option here, that is optional. Optional equal to false. Where you can say means here optional equal to false. False or true. Either you can say one. Okay. This optional is actually for, it tells JPA that this field is required and it will cause an error. Suppose if the field is missing. Okay. So I'm just typing that. Optional will say that the field is required. This is for true only. Optional is true means you can say the below command. Okay. Optional is true means that will say that the field is required, and if any row in the database not having value for this field, for the corresponding field, okay, for the corresponding field means in classroom. Okay. Actually, this data, this will not be available in database. Remember, list of student will not be available in database. Which will available in database means classroom. Okay. In classroom column, okay, you should have ID. You should have ID. Okay. Every student should have mapped with the classroom, and all the classrooms ID should be there. If any row in the database not having the value for the corresponding field, then it will throw an error. For this purpose only, we will use optional true. But normally we won't say true. If required, we will say false. Optional false, I'm saying. Okay. This is one-to-one relationship. This optional is also, once again, I'm saying this is optional. You can use it or you may not use it. Okay. You can use it with many to many also. You can use it with many to one also. Okay, it depends on. So this is one to one relationship. Many to many, I said to you, this is one to one relationship. Many to many relationship is here, and one to many and many to many is in our example. Okay. Now let me have a named query or query. Okay. I'm just going to write a named query here. Named query. This will have two parameters. Name equal to, you should substitute the name. Any query name you can give. Okay. That means any query name means the given name. The given name should be applied here. Substitute the name. Then second one, query. You should write the query here. Okay. This is named query. And there is one more thing called named queries. Okay. Named queries. That one also I will write here. I will write in a commented way at the rate named queries. Okay. It will have parenthesis in this. First one is named query, comma. Second one also at the rate named query. So two query will be there. And for both the queries, you will have same name and query. So like this. Okay. This is named queries. Named queries. Okay, va? Since it is having two values, it should have set brackets. Okay, it should have set brackets. That means set of values now, so it should have set brackets. In set brackets, first one is named query, comma, second one is also named query. You can have n numbers here. Okay, how many named queries you want? That many you can have inside named queries. And every query will have its own name. For example, I'm saying substitute name 1 for this, name 1 for this. Here, I can say substitute name 2 for this. Okay, right. Then what can be these queries? That means there are many way, like many queries will be there now. So I'm writing queries here. What can be these queries? So first query I'm just writing select yes or C. I'm writing for classroom class. Okay. Select C from classroom. Classroom is a class. Okay. Select C from classroom space C. Then if you are having any join, that join. Then fetch is for eagerly fetching. Join, fetch. Then what to join? Okay. What to join? C dot. You are having what here? C dot student. You are having student. This one you can copy. Okay. You can copy that one. C dot student where C dot ID greater than, you can say some variable name. Later you can substitute the value, but the variable name should start with colon. Okay, colon. This is one query. The second query, I will copy this. Few sample queries I will write. So here in the second query, I will use left outer join fetch. Okay. And I will use equal to here. Then third query, that might be simple query without a join and fetch. So I can write like this. Select C from classroom C where ID greater than, where C dot ID greater than colon where. Okay. So these are the ways you can write different queries. And for example, I will give you what are all the where conditions you can use. Okay. So I'm going to give you this one. See, the where conditions you can use like the less than symbol, greater than symbol, equal to, and this one is particularly not equal to. You are not having not equal to with the exclamatory mark here. If you say less than and greater than together, it is not equal to. Okay. These are all the where conditions you can use it. And for an example, I can say I can use like this. For an example, I can use C dot name, like it should have in before and after percentage symbol. Okay. And then you can have between 10 and 20. And the name should not, and the name is null. Then those values you have to retrieve. Okay. So for an example, I'm saying these queries. Okay. Now you can write these queries in this exact query equal to double quotes I given now. So in this place, you can substitute those queries which we discussed. So now the named query or named queries is been ready. Okay, I need to use this, utilize this. How to utilize this? There will be one more class called service class, public class service. Okay, public class service. In the service class, you will be using the named query. How to use the named query? First, you have to create the entity manager. Then only you can able to access those queries. So how to create entity manager? You have to create object for that. Entity manager space EM. Now, you all know to create entity manager, first we have to create entity manager factory. Then we have to create entity manager. But I'm not going to do that now. There is one more annotation called at the rate persistence. Okay, at the rate persistence context. So this annotation, this at the rate persistence context will inject the dependency for entity manager. You can write like this, or else you can write with the name of the persistence manager. That means unit name, the name which is given. Okay, JPA unit name. Either you can write with the name or else without the name also you can write. For example, directly at the rate persistence context. Okay. So now assuming I had an entity manager ready, now I can use the query. I can retrieve the query. How to retrieve the query? In one of the function public void, let me have it as fun1. In this function, I want to retrieve the query. So how to retrieve the query? I should type the query. Okay, you should use query also and typed query also. I am using typed query. The difference is if you use typed query, you need to say the class name in the generic data type. So here classroom, typed query of classroom space any object QRY equal to. Now here you can use em dot create typed query, create typed query. Then first one is the query name. Whatever the name you are having, that one you can substitute it here. For example, the same name I'm copying from named query. That one I will substitute here. Then second one is the class that is associated. So that is classroom dot class. So this is how you will retrieve the named query in the function one. Now after retrieval, I need to get the output from this. How to get the output? I should say list of, this is list of which one? Classroom or student tab? List of classroom. So list of classroom space L equal to, you can say your query object qry dot get result list. You can use either get result list or else directly list. Query dot list will also work. Okay. Now I had the listing L. Whatever you want to do with L, you can decide it. Okay. So now we had used the type query and then I had retrieved the type. I had retrieved the named query here. But one more thing, we have to use em dot create named query, not typed query, create named query. One more correction, you have to use em dot create named query. Left side should be typed query, right side should be em dot create named query. Suppose in your exam, they are asking you to write the query directly, not in the named query format. Named query means you will write the named query above the class, above the class. Okay. They are not going to ask you like that. Suppose if they are asking you to write the query directly, then you should write here. Now I'm going to write it. I will copy the same line, paste it above, which I will comment it. Okay. So here typed query of classroom space qry equal to create, instead of named query, create query. That's it. Create query, create query. Then if, then in the place of substitute name, you should write your actual query. So I'm copying one of the query which we discussed. Okay. One of the query I will copy. The same query I will apply it here. The full version of the query you can write it here instead of giving the query name. Okay. Now you may have a doubt. We are having that where colon where. Then how to set the value for that colon where? Okay. Then in that case, you have to use qry dot set parameter. Okay. qry dot set parameter. So I'm going to use that. For example, here I will use qry dot set parameter. Then what is the variable name? var. Then what is the value you want to give? Something like 10. So like this, you can set the parameter. You can set this parameter for both create query and also for create named query. Okay. Either of one, what you are writing, you can set this value. Suppose you want to write the query with or condition and condition. Okay. You want to write the query with or condition. Then I will give you one sample query. Let me give you this query to you. Where I will paste means in our query section, I will paste it here. So look at this query. Select E from employee E. Okay. Where E dot salary greater than colon SAL. This is one variable. And then you can use or here. Or E dot employee name equal to colon name. So I'm using second variable. So two variables I'm using with or. You can also use and here. Okay. So that it will match both. So I'm just copying this. I will paste it again. I will replace this R as and. Okay. You can give multiple conditions like this with R and. Okay. So now the query section, I think I had covered with named query and named queries with multiple where conditions are and few examples and how to use the query. and set the parameters for the query and get the result from the query. Okay. Now, few more I will teach you. For example, now you are not going to write a query. You are going to do database operation like insert operation. See, where you will write the query actually. In you are having many operations now. You will be writing the query only for the retrieval operation. Only for the retrieval operation. You never use query for remaining things. So remaining things are what? Insert, update, delete, find by ID. That means only one. Only one row you are finding. That one row retrieval also you don't need to read. You don't need to write query. Okay. So I will say insert, update, delete, and find. For these operations, okay, there is no need of query. You can directly use some predefined APIs in Entity Manager. So what are those APIs? First API, we will write it above. Okay, or else here itself I will comment and I will write it em.persist, persist, persist. Okay, in this em.persist you will pass the object of classroom. Okay, I will say C1 is the object. So em.persist, this is to save. Then em.delete. Okay, so here also you should pass object only C1. Okay, then how to find single object, that is em.find. Okay, em.find. If you say find, you should say where to find and what to find. Where to find is the class name. So what is the class name? Classroom. Classroom dot class, comma, what to find? Suppose the classroom ID is 10. I want to find them. So classroom dot class, comma, 10. So you have to pass two values for em.find. One is where to find the classroom. Another one is what to find the ID value. Okay. So then another one is em dot, I need to update it. So how to update? Is there any function to update? You are having em.merge function. Okay. em.merge function, em.merge, and then you can pass the object to merge C1. Okay. And one correction here, instead of delete, okay, em.remove. The function name is em.remove. So first function is em.persist, that is to save. Then second function is em.remove, that is to delete. Then third function is em.find, that is to find single row. Okay, if there is multiple rows matching, then first occurrence, then em.merge. This is to merge the column. That means, sorry, merge the row. That is updation. Then one more I will teach you. That is em.contains. em.contains C1. This will say Boolean value, true, false, whether it is present or not. This contains, you will use it in if condition. For example, if you are saying if em.contains of C1, if C1 row is present, then your if condition is true. If C1 row is not present, then your if condition is false. So these are the various operations you might use in your exam within a try-catch block. Okay. And within the transaction too. For example, I want to apply persist here with the transaction. Then what I should do? Above the service class, I should write managed. Okay. Transaction management. Okay. Above the persist class, I should write transaction management. management, management, transaction management. Then inside strategy equal to transaction management type dot bean. Why we are saying this? Transaction management of strategy equal to transaction management type dot bean. Why we are saying this means See, for persist, what you are passing? You are passing one of the object, correct? For remove, what you are passing? Same object, correct? That means these objects are being. You are doing transaction with the help of being only. That's why we are saying transaction management type dot being. Okay. So why we need transaction first? We need transaction for any modification occurs in the table. Modification means insertion is one of the modification. Removing is one of the modification. Merging is one of the modification. So we need transaction only for persist, remove, and merge. You don't want to apply this transaction for any retrieval operation, query, or em.find. You don't want to apply this. You want to apply this transaction only for insertion, removal, and updation. Why? These three are modifying the table. Okay. So now I'm going to have a function to apply this. Public function returns void, public void. I will say insert operation. Insert operation. So in this function, I should get some object which I want to insert. So I will say classroom space C is the object. Then inside the insert operation, okay, first I need to have try catch block. So I'm having try catch block here. Catch means I should say exception E. Exception E is the object actually. Then I will print E dot print stack trace. This is for backtracking the errors. Okay. Now inside try, I should write the transaction. Okay. So I'm going to write the transaction. So before writing the transaction, you should have the transaction object. Okay. But I'm not having that. So there is a two way now to begin the transaction. One, I can use em dot get transaction dot begin. Get transaction dot begin. Either I can do like that, or else I can use one separate transaction object. Okay. Separate transaction object means that I should create with the help of user transaction class. Okay, that I should create with the help of user transaction class. Let me have one user transaction class here for an example. So I will create the transaction after your entity manager. Here I am writing user transaction space TR. TR is a transaction. Now, I'm not assigning the right side one for the transaction. That means user transaction TR, then immediately semicolon I'm giving. The right side one is actually heap memory creation, which I should do for using this. If you want to write TR dot, I should write the right side one, but I'm not writing. That means I should inject here. I should inject the right side one for this TR. How to inject? So now you are having two annotations here for inject. One is @inject, another one is @resource. Okay. So I will use @inject. This is dependency injection. Or else you can use @resource. Either one, but one I'm commenting here. So only one I'm using. So this TR, I will use it here. Here I will use TR dot begin. TR dot begin. Begin is the function. This is one way to begin the transaction. If you want to begin in the other way, you can use em dot get transaction dot begin. Like this, you can begin the transaction. Okay. Now I begin the transaction. Now what I should do? I should save it. So I will say em dot persist. I will say I need to say C. I need to save C. So I'm saving it. Then I need to commit the transaction tr dot commit. Either you can use tr.commit or else same way em.get transaction dot commit instead of begin dot commit. Okay. Either you can use one, and then suppose if there is any error in this process, then you can go into catch block, then you can say tr dot rollback. Rollback. You can roll back the transaction. So this is how you will use the persist, remove, find, merge, these functions with EM, Entity Manager. Okay. And suppose you would like to create the Entity Manager with Entity Manager Factory, then that also I'm writing it here. Okay. I will directly give you the code. So by this way, see, Entity Manager Factory equal to persistence dot create Entity Manager Factory. Then you will be substituting the JNDI name. Okay. Then next line, Entity Manager space EM equal to Entity Manager Factory dot create Entity Manager Factory. These two lines I will comment. If you want, you can do in this way also. Okay. So I am doing in the annotation way. At the rate persistence context I will use, and I will inject the annotation. Okay. That will save one line to you in the exam. Now queries done. Operations on database done. Okay. Named query is also done. Persistence context two-way I had explained to you. Relationship one to one, one to many, many to one, many to many. Okay. Those things I had explained to you. Validation I had explained with 13 validations. Now what we had missed is REST. Okay. We will go to REST. REST service. That I will write it. One more dependency injection. That will also I will complete here. For example, the service class is there now here. Okay, this class, service class. This service class, I want to create object. Okay, I want to create object for the service class in app.java. Okay, let me have app.java here. Public. I will use public class app. So this is app.java. In this app.java class, I want to create object for service class. Normally, how we will create service space obj or service 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 equal to new service. This is the way you will create the object, right? But if you create like this is not in the EP style. So I will remove the right side one. Okay. New service. That means heap memory creation. I will remove. I will have only service space service left side one. Now I need to inject the dependency for this. Dependency means the right side one. I need to inject the dependency for this in runtime. That means if I need to inject this, I'm having two options. One, I can write inject inject at the rate inject, or else I can write at the rate ejb. Either one I can write. EJB is the latest one. Inject is the older one. Let me comment that inject. I will use EJB. Okay. Once again, it depends on if they ask you to inject. Okay. With the CD like container dependency. Okay. With container dependency injection, then you use at the rate inject. If you want to use EJB also, no issue, you can use it. So now I'm using EJB here for the injection. But one condition for this, if you want to use at the rate EJB or at the rate inject for injection, then the class should be container class. The class should be container class. Now, my question is the service class is a container class? Is the service class which we created is a container class? Answer is no. If you want to make a container class, you have to make one of the annotation on three. First annotation @stateless. Second annotation @stateful. Let me write that for you. Okay, above. So what are the ways to do dependency injection and container and class containerization? First, I will write dependency injection. Dependency injection and so dependency injection. What are the way? One way is @inject. Another way is @ejb. Okay. Now, how to like make the class as container class for dependency injection. Okay. So how to make the class as container class? You should use either @stateless or @stateful or @singleton. Either one you should use. Okay. 90% you will use stateless. Most of the scenarios. Okay. Stateful remaining and then singleton, very rare case. Okay. So now I'm going to use stateless here. Where I'm going to use stateless? Above the service class, because that service class only I'm injecting. I will use stateless. Okay. I will use stateless for the service class. Now service class becomes container class. First point done. Second, I can inject it in the another like in another class. So I'm saying service space service, above that @ejb. So I injected. Now this completes dependency injection. Okay. Now we will go to REST. Okay. Now we will go to REST service. In REST service, what are all the annotations you will use? Directly I will type those. First, @get. That means you should say either the method is get method, post method, put method, like that. Now, where you will say get for retrieval operation. Retrieval operation. Then second one @post. Where you will use post for insert operation. Okay. Then @put. Where you will say put for update operation. Then @delete. This is for delete operation. You know. Then these four you will say above the method. Okay. Get, post, put, or delete. Now, second, what you will say? You might say @produces. @produces. And you will say media type dot application underscore JSON. Okay. Produces media type application underscore JSON. This produces where you will say when the function is having return type. Remember, produces where you will say when the function is having return type. Okay. Now, return type, if they don't specify anything, it's a string return type, then you can simply say JSON. Suppose if they specify the return type is an XML formatted one. The return type is an XML formatted one. Then you can use this application underscore XML. Suppose if they say the return type is text plain, then you can use media type dot text plain. And similar to producers, what is the other one? when the function takes input except from URL, okay. If the function is taking input from URL, then no issue. If the function is taking input and that is not from URL, that means what are the possibilities? It may take input input from form. This is one possibility. Second, it may take input from directly from Postman. You can send a function body as input. So it may take input from JSON format. JSON format. Okay. So these are the two ways it may take the input. Suppose if it takes the input, okay, from a form, you can use consumes media type application form URL encoded. This one. Suppose if it takes the input from the Postman like JSON formatted, okay, then you can say consumes consumes media type dot application underscore JSON. Okay, this is for consumes. So three producers I given, two consumes I had given. Then what are the other annotation you will use in REST service? You will use path, path. This one you will use above the class as well as above the method. In both the places, it is possible to use. So you will be having some address here like slash rest or slash abc something. Okay, you might be you might be using this above the class and method. In both the places you might be using. Then one more annotation called application path. That one you have to create a separate class. Okay, so you should create public class jax ors activator, okay, extends application. Then this is an empty class. Above this you can use application path. Okay, this you should use, otherwise it won't work. Application path inside slash whatever they are giving. I'm using it as rest. See, this one you have to create. There won't be this class. Okay, wherever your rest class is there, I will give you in command line. Wherever the rest class is there, you need to create the below class. Okay, in same package. Now, all this rest based annotations. Okay, I'm writing here. All this rest based annotations should be imported from ws.rs package only. Okay, why I'm saying this? In exam you will have 2-3 packages to import all this. If you import from a wrong package, definitely it won't work. Okay, for an example, in one of my attempt I had imported this producers from a wrong package. Okay, so you should import the REST based annotations from ws.rs package only. Okay, all these annotations from same package. So now I said about get, I said about producers, consumes, path, application path. Application path class, you have to create it as a separate class. Then one more. If you are getting the values from the URL, you should use @path param. Okay, @path param of double quotes. You can give the name of the variable, like name of the variable is ID. So @path param of ID. Then suppose if you are getting the value from the URL with a question mark, you might be observing some URL. For sample URL, I will type here http http colon double slash localhost colon 8080 slash your project name proj underscore or j hyphen name project name slash, then I will say rest, then I will say ABC. Okay, the same URL I had applied in the above one. At the rate application path rest means after project name rest, and path ABC means after rest slash ABC. Okay, then slash ABC slash, you might have ID here. ID means 10. If you are having something like this, then you can use your path param. Okay, and then you can use at the rate path annotation with slash ABC slash flower brace of ID. Like this, you can use it. Okay. Suppose in the URL, you are having something like this, not slash 10, you are having question mark and ID equal to 10 like this. Then you should use at the rate path within double quotes slash ABC, slash is optional only, slash ABC, slash flower brace ID not required here. So only slash ABC, after this line slash query param. You have to use query param here. Query param of, query means remember question mark query, both having Q. Question mark query. I am having question mark in the URL. So the answer should be query param. So query param of ID. Okay. Suppose you are not getting the data from the URL. You are getting the data from the form. You are getting data from the form. You are getting data from form. In this case, you should use at the rate form param. Form param, okay, of the value, the variable name, ID. Then suppose they are asking you to set the default value. Set the default value for variable. They are asking you to set the default value for the variable. If no values coming into, then you have to set the default value. Then you have to use at the rate default value. At the rate default value of the value should be within double quotes. Even though it's a number, it should be within double quotes. Default value, default value, at the rate default value. So these are the annotations with respect to parameters. With respect to get, post, put, delete, done. Produces done. Consumes done. Path and application path done. Then path param, query param, form param, default value done. I think these are the annotations available in the REST service. I hope so. We have covered all the annotations. I will just check once. Yes, we have covered all the annotations in the REST service. Now, I will just check the topics. Okay. First, we covered query. Then we covered entity manager, query operations. Then we covered entity relationship. Then we covered one more I have to say. Now I got remember. Go to your entity classes. In the entity class, you are having student and classroom, right? Two entity class I'm having. Clear? Two entity class I'm having. In this two entity class, the first class is classroom. Here I'm having string description. String description, one of the variable. This variable, I don't want it to in database. I won't want it to enter in database. That means how many variable you are having in classroom? 3. ID, description, and student. I don't want description variable in database. I want this variable only in Java code. Okay. Then what annotation you will use? What annotation you will use? At the rate transient. TRANSIANT, at the rate transient. If you use this annotation that says this variable only applicable for Java code, and it should not create any column in the database. Okay, at the rate transient. One more annotation I will say to you. Go to student class. There I am using date space DOB, date space DOB, date of birth, which I am saying at the rate past. That and all okay. Now I am having ID. That means int ID in Java. What is the corresponding database data type? Integer. I am having string name in Java. What is the corresponding database data type? Java string database varchar. Okay. Similarly, if you say date in Java, in database also date is there, but it won't directly connect. It won't directly connect. Java date will not equalize the database date. Okay. If you try like that, it will show error. Then for that purpose, you need one more annotation called temporal. Okay. Temporal. Wherever you see date, okay, if it is going to database, you should put this annotation temporal at the rate temporal. Then inside temporal type dot date. This is to convert Java date to database date. Okay, wherever you see date, okay, there this annotation will be there. Otherwise, at the rate transient will be there. It won't go to database. Suppose if it is going to database, then Java date need to convert to database date. So at the rate temporal, then temporal type dot date. This annotation will be there. Okay. Then further checking, one more annotation I want to say to you. See how you are saying this is a primary key. Int ID, that is primary key. How you are saying? You are using at the rate ID, correct? At the rate ID. Okay. Suppose your primary key is a composite key. Okay, it's not an individual key, it's a composite key. Then what you will do? I will say that to you. Then you should use at the rate embedded ID or else at the rate ID class. Either one of the annotation. This is for composite primary key only, not for general primary key. Composite primary key means 2, 3 keys together. Okay, you are making a primary key. Okay, then you should use this at the rate embedded ID or at the rate ID class. This is only for additional learning I'm saying. Okay, normally you will be using at the rate ID only. Okay. Then role-based access. For role-based access, I will give you content now quickly. Okay. Very simple. Only few annotations we are having. For role-based access, these are the annotations. For example, security domain. This annotation will be above the class name. Okay. If they given in your exam, this is a security domain you have to apply. Then you should say at the rate security domain of the name which they given. Okay. This will be above the class name. Okay. Security domain at the rate SECURITY security DOMAIN domain will be above the class if required. If required only, not mandatory. Okay, if required, it will be above the class. Then remaining at the rate roles allowed, you know. Okay, these at the rate roles allowed, you had already learned. Okay, and at the rate permit all is there. At the rate deny all is there. That means permitting and denying everyone. And then at the rate run as is there. Run as means it will run the function as given role, like run as administrator. You are saying now like that. Whatever person, whichever person is accessing doesn't matter. If you say run as administrator, it will run as administrator. Okay. While running the function, it will assume the role as administrator. So you are having at the rate run as. Okay. This is for role based access. Then JMS service. I will give you content for JMS service. Let me see that now. Java messaging service. See, this is for JMS service. See, in JMS service, Java messaging service, you are having sender message and receiver message function. Sending and receiving. While sending, you are using the MSG message, which is required to string. Okay, that is a string type, which you are getting, like hello, like that one message you are getting. Then you need to send this message to the queue. And then from the queue, the receiver will pick the message. Understand? You are collecting one message, you are sending to the queue. Then from the queue, receiver will pick the message. Okay, this is sender function. That means it will collect the message. Then you are using JMS producer, okay, which is to create the producer. Then you are using text message, which will convert the message, string message to text message, string message to text message. Then you are using the producer.send. That means JMS producer you created now. That producer.send, where to send? You have to send to queue. Okay. What to send? Message you have to send. Which message? This converted text message. Okay. This converted text message you need to send. For this purpose, you need queue up. That queue I'm creating here. Queue space queue at the rate resource. Then you have to substitute the name which they will give. So according to that name, the queue will be generated. That means the dependency injection for the queue will be injected. Then receiver message. This function will receive the message. So above one is having producer, below one will have consumer. Receiver means consumer. Okay. You have to specify the queue from where it is consuming. Okay. From where it is consuming. Then it need to consume now. So you are saying consumer dot receive no wait. Receive no wait. That means it is receiving from the queue. And then you are converting that received message to text message. Okay, va? Then next line, you are converting text message to string. You are converting text message to string. Then you are returning the string message which you received. Okay, va? This is the receiver side. Okay. And wherever you are using that context, I'm creating that context here by making dependency injection at the rate inject. Okay, va? Then alternative method. Another method is there to receive the message. I think this one also discussed in your class. At the rate message driven. You are having this name. This name is nothing but class name. Okay, whatever is having below class name, you have to substitute the class name. You should write this annotation above the class. Only this annotation is to receive the message. This annotation will not send the message. Remember, this annotation will receive a message. So whatever the class name, I'm giving the class name here, then activation config. Inside that activation config property 2 times. Every time it is having property name and property value. And the name is destination lookup, destination value. Accordingly, this value they will give, you have to substitute. Okay. Then this annotation will be completed. That means this class will get linked with the queue. Then you have to write this implements message listener. You have to write this implements message listener so that this public void on message function will come to you. Okay, because it is interface now. From the interface, this message function will come to you. So inside that, you have to pass the message to some other function. So that some other function name they will give. For example, process. Then the process of message you are passing. Okay, wow. This is one way. The other way is here. Okay, sender message, receiver message. So these two functions. One is having JMS producer, another one is having consumer. Producer will send to the queue, consumer will receive from the queue. Okay. For sending purpose, you are converting string message to text message. After receiving, you are converting the text message to string message. Okay, vice versa. Then you are returning the message. This is the JMS. Okay. Then after this, you are having qualifier. Okay. Qualifier I will teach you now. For understanding this, I will give you this scenario. Look at here. Now in qualifier, you are having a interface called public interface vehicle. This interface is having only start method. Only start method. Okay. Only declaration. Because interface only na. Now I am having two classes, bike class and car class, which implements vehicle. Okay, bike implements vehicle, car implements vehicle. Inside bike and car, I am having the start method. Which method I am having in the interface? Same method I am having inside bike and car. I am returning bike started and car started. Okay, both are container class. Now the issue for me is, I am going to have a service class. Okay. In the service class, I want to create object. I want to create object for vehicle. Okay. Object for vehicle. Then I need to use that vehicle object to call the start function. Now, if I say at the rate inject, what will be injected in the right side? Vehicle having two child. One is bike, another one is car. See, vehicle is a interface. Bike and car are the class which implements vehicle. That means vehicle is parent, bike and car are child of vehicle. Now, vehicle space B is there. For this, I need to write the right side one. Right side one means what? Equal to new. Something I have to write like this, bike or else car. I have to write like this. Some child class name I have to write like this. But now what I'm saying at the rate inject. Now you see both bike and car are stateless. That means containerized classes. There won't be any issue for inject based on containerized classes. But there will be another issue. What is the issue? There is two classes. Which one to inject? Problem occurring. Which one to inject? Bike or car? So here is the solution for qualifier. Okay, I'm writing the solution for qualifier now. So how to solve this problem? So now I'm going to write solution. See, in the same package where the interface presents, there right click package, create new qualifier. Okay, right click the package, new qualifier. Like class is there now, new class, new interface. Like that qualifier will be there. New qualifier. Any name you can give. For example, I'm giving first. Okay, va? Then immediately this qualifier will get created. You don't want to type this code. This will get created. Okay. Where you are creating this? In the same package of interface. Okay. Above the interface, do you want to write this qualifier? No, not at all. It will automatically link with that qualifier. Okay, va? Because you are creating in the same package. Now, come to this bike and car. Which one you want to make it as qualify. For example, I want to make my car to qualify. Okay. So what is my qualifier name? FIRST first. So that first I'm saying it here at the rate first. At the rate qualifier name. Okay. Qualifier name you have to say above the class. Then where you are injecting. Okay. In that place also you have to say at the rate first. That means vehicle space B, you are injecting at the rate inject na. There also you have to say first. Then this first will get linked with this first. Okay. This first will get linked with class first. Okay. Then this car will be injected. So when I say B dot start, what will be my output? Car started will be my output. Okay. My output will be car started. Okay, ma? Understood? I will come again. See, in qualifier, my problem is I am having one interface. Interface name is vehicle. Now implements vehicle is done in two class, bike and car. Now in service class, I am creating object for vehicle. I am writing at the rate inject. Now the issue is which class to inject, bike or car. That is the issue. To solve this, we are going to qualify. How we are solving this? In the same package where we are having our interface, in that package we have to right click new qualifier, you have to create the qualifier name. For example, first any name you can create. So this code will automatically generated in qualifier. You save it. Nothing to do in the interface. You come to which class you require. I want car, so I am coming to car. There I will say at the rate qualifier name. Then I will come to injecting place. There also I will say at the rate qualifier name. Then both this get linked. Car will be injected for V. So my V dot start will give me output of car started. Okay. Are you understanding this? Now, few more points I want to discuss with you. Okay. Those points, I will just write it here now. Directly I will paste, then I will discuss. Okay, but there is no time. So I'm discussing little fast. So now, suppose you want to access your class in JSF file. Okay. You want to access your class in JSF file. Then normally we will write at the rate managed bin, at the rate managed bin. Okay. Then name equal to, you can say some name, bin name. Okay. Like H. Then you can say H dot in the JSF, right? Instead of this, you can write at the rate named. At the rate named. Instead of managed bin, you can write at the rate named. Then hello. Then in JSF, how you can use hello dot ID. Like that you can use. For example, here I'm having int ID. Okay. I will go to JSF page. Index dot XHTML. Okay. In index.xhtml, I can access hash flower brace of HELLO hello.id. Like this, I can access. Understood? This hello, okay, is I'm saying it in at the rate named. If you say H here, you can access h.id. Okay. Now, coming to the second one, injecting with EJB and lookup. For example, I'm having one class. Okay, I'm having one class, EJB class, which implements EJB interface. In EJB interface, there are two methods. Obviously, the two methods will be defined in this class. Okay, no issue. Now, this class is stateless. Okay, this class is stateless. So I can able to inject this class. See here in public class service, I am writing interface name. Interface name is EJB interface. Okay, I should write this class name. New EJB class, new EJB class. Why? This is a child class. Okay, va? But I'm not writing that equal to. Instead of that, I'm writing at the rate EJB. I'm injecting. Now, at the rate EJB is used to inject local resources. Local resources. That means resources available in the same project. Suppose your resource available in another project, then this interface will have at the rate remote. Automatically, it will be there. Okay, va? If it is available in another place, this interface should have at the rate remote. Then you should give that JNDI name, JNDI name inside lookup equal to double quotes. Then you should give this JNDI name. Okay, va? Then only this remote interface can link with this. Remember, this interface is in another project. Okay, va? Interface is in another project, remote project. This class is also in remote. Okay. But now here I'm saying EJB interface space OBJ. I want to inject it. So I'm saying at the rate EJB, it won't get injected because it is another project now. It doesn't know. So I have to say lookup equal to, then the JNDI name I have to give. In this URL only, in this JNDI name only, this two will be available. This interface and class will be available. Okay, wow. And obviously there is no exception. If you want to use at the rate EJB here, that should be stateless. Okay, wow. Got it? Got it? Then next. Now I need to initialize some values like a constructor. Okay, I need to initialize some values. For example, this to do bean. Okay, to do bean. See, I will have service class here. The same service class I will copy. In the service class, this is in local only. So at the rate EJB is enough. Here I will say to do bean. To do bean. Okay. For to do bean, I'm creating object. So I want to inject it. So I'm using at the rate EJB. Now, if I want to use at the rate EJB, this to do bean should be a container class. How to make container class? Either it should be stateless or stateful or singleton or singleton. Now I'm making it as singleton. Okay, wow. So I can inject it here. Now, this to do bean is having one constructor. Constructor. Okay. Constructor means you should not think to do bean in the same name, it should be there. Here it is in little different way. Okay, I'm having init method like how you will have in Python, like that I'm having some init method. Any name you can have, no issue. But you should have this annotation. This annotation makes below method as constructor. What annotation? What is an annotation? Post construct. Sorry, post construct. This is the annotation. So what it will do? This annotation makes method similar to constructor. Method similar to constructor. Okay, if you say at post construct, Now you are having at post construct means if it is a singleton, see, remember, I'm writing here, if you need at the rate post construct, okay, and it is a at the rate singleton, then it is mandatory to have at the rate startup. Okay, wow. It is mandatory to have at the rate startup. When you have at the rate post construct and at the rate singleton. Okay, suppose I will write it again. If you have, if you need at the rate post construct and it is a stateless, then no need to have at the rate startup. Stateless or stateful also, no issue. At the rate stateful also. Understood? This post construct you can use in any class bar which is either stateless or stateful or singleton. Why you want to use this post constructor? Post construct to make a constructor kind of function. Okay. Okay. Suppose if you are using this post construct with stateless and stateful, then no issue. If you are using this post construct with singleton, then there should be one more annotation called at the rate startup. Okay, ma'am? Okay. Now, this one you can also refer in PDF page number 132 in little detailed way. Okay. Next, scope of the class. Scope of which class? I will say scope of service class or scope of class which connects with the JSF. Scope of class which connects with JSF. Okay. Whichever class you are connecting with JSF. For example, this class path, public class 8 ball. Here you are having named means you will use this object in JSF. Okay, va? In JSF file, for example, index.jsf. In this file, sorry, index.xhtml. In this file, you will be using something like hash symbol, then 8 ball dot. Suppose you are having one ID here. Okay, int ID. Then this 8 ball dot ID. You can use it. Okay. So when you use like this, what is the scope of this ID? Scope means, see, when you say request scoped, okay, it changes with every request or form submission. To be very clear, when you refresh the page, not present on refreshing the page. When you refresh the page, whatever you entered for ID will be lost. Okay, will be lost. For example, here I will have one input text box. Okay, H colon input text. Okay, then value equal to, okay, value equal to this one. Self-closing tag. So in this text box, okay, in this text box, I'm entering some value. This value will present until you refresh the page only. That is what request scoped. Now, conversation scoped. This one is on single browser tab. That means you will open one tab na, in browser. In that tab, how many times you refresh doesn't matter. Okay, I will write refresh does not matter to save to have the value, to have the variable value. Okay, refresh does not matter to have the variable value. In single tab, you will have always scoped. If you, okay, you will have single browser across tabs. If you say application scoped, the object of class will be alive as long as application is deployed and running on the application server. That means as long as your server running, whatever you do refresh, you open another tab, you open same link in another browser, you will get same data. Okay. In session scoped, you will not get same value in another browser. This also I will say. You will not get same value in another browser in session scoped. Okay. In conversation scoped, another tab you will not get. In refresh scoped, in same tab also, if you refresh, okay, request scoped, if you refresh, it will go. Okay, va? Like this, you can apply the scope of the variable. Which page is connecting, which class is connecting with JSF, in that class you can apply. Okay, va? Then you need to learn about these things which are available in page number 140 in your PDF. Okay. This is to say scope of your transaction. I will say transaction attribute scope. Scope of your transaction. How I said scope of variable? Like that, scope of your transaction. Okay, va? Then transaction management. This one we had already done. Okay. When the bean is like when you have transaction management, you can able to say tx.begin, tx.commit, and then tx.rollback. Okay, va? This one we already saw. Then furthermore, anything I missed, I will check. Nothing I had missed. Let me uh, come from the beginning. Okay, just for 5 minutes. Okay, goal of the session is to prepare for your certificate exam. You may get any question in your exam. Okay, don't expect same question. You will get different question only. Okay, when you get any question in your exam, the goal is to overcome that and to answer those things. Okay, now validation related things. You are having these 13 annotations. Okay, validation entirely falls in this 13 annotation only. Okay, then entity class relationship things. Either it will be one to one or many to one and one to many or many to many. This join column is an optional one. If you want to change the column name for your foreign key column, okay, then you will use join column. Okay. Similarly, you will use join table for many to many only. Okay, wow. Then this relationship I had actually done with an example. Okay. Our example project is having classroom. In this classroom, I'm having list of student. So list of student is having one to many mapped by And the other part, okay, I'm going to other part now. In the other part, I'm having student, okay, student class where I'm having classroom space classroom. Here I will have many to one. So in this place, join column is an optional one. Okay, if you want to mention another column name for the foreign key, you can give. See, listen, one to many is having mapped by and fetch. By default, fetch is eager. Here, many to one, only there. Join column is optional. Okay. Now, similar to this, I am having many to many relationship. Okay, many to many relationship where I will be using where I will be using join table annotation. Okay, join table annotation. Okay. Now, one to one relationship also there, which is very simple, which is very similar to one to many and many to one. Okay. Only these are relationship. Okay, ma'am. Now, what are the types of queries you can write? See here. You can write queries with by joining two tables. It may be left outer join, right outer join, or join fetch. Okay. It may be simple query, or it may be the query which will have or in it, or it may be the query which will have and in it. You can use variety of condition with your query, where condition, and some of the examples. Okay. Now, dependency injection. You can do dependency injection by means of @injected, @ejb. Okay. I will also add this @ejb lookup equal to JNDI name. Okay, wow. This is for remote injection. Okay. This is for remote dependency injection. And for remote dependency, there is one more annotation called @remote. This will be available in your remote side, not here, in your another project. Okay. You will be working in one project. In other project, that remote interface will be there. Okay. Wow. Then to make the class as container class, you will have stateless or stateful or singleton. Okay. Wow. Then you can write named query or named queries. If it is named queries, you will use set bracket, open close. Inside set bracket, you will write named query, first named query, comma, second named query, like that. Okay, named queries. Then how will you use this named queries? In service class, you will have entity manager and transaction object. You can use typed query equal to em.create named query. Then you can substitute the named query name and the corresponding class. Then you can set the parameter value, query.set parameter, the parameter name and the value. Okay. Then this is to get the list, like list of values which you are retrieving. Okay. Similarly, you can write the query directly. Typed query of classroom space query equal to em.create query. Previously create named query, now create query. Then you can substitute the query directly in the first parameter. Second parameter is the class name. Remaining same. If you want to do other operation, you are having em.persist, remove, find, merge, contains. These operations you will use with the transaction. Transaction can begin, commit, and roll back. Okay. Now I am injecting that service. Okay. So service class will have @stateless, @stateless, so that I can able to inject the service class. Either I can use @inject or @ejb. Then REST service. REST service will have get, post, put, delete. Then produces and consumes. Produces for return type. Consumes for taking input except than URL. Okay, ma'am. If it is form based input, you will use application form URL encoded. If it is JSON based input, you will use application underscore JSON. Then you will use @path and @application path. This class especially you have to create and you must create. Okay, there is no other option. You must create. Okay. Then you have to make extends application and @application path of REST. Then if it is from the URL directly /10, then you can use @path param. If it is question mark, then you can use query param. If it is from the form data, you can use form param. If it is default value, you have to set, then you can use default value. Okay. Then role based access. Suppose if they ask you to say @security domain above the class name, then you can say this. Otherwise, it is not required. Okay. It is, I'm saying here clearly, if required only, if required only. Okay. Then you know about roles allowed. Those are there. Then permit all, deny all, to allow all and deny all. Then run as role dot administrator role. This is one more annotation to say run as. Then JMS, Java Messaging Service. It is having queue and context. These two I'm creating with dependency injection. Then sender method, receiver method. Sender will have producer, JMS producer. Receiver will have JMS consumer. In sender, you will convert string message to text message. Then you will send the text message to the queue. In receiver, you will convert the received message to text message, then text message to string, then you will return the string. Okay. This is one method. The other method with @message driven annotation. This method will be useful only for receiving the message. Receiving the message. So how to receive? You have to use implements message listener. Then it will automatically give you one method called onMessage. Inside that, you have to get the value of message and pass it to another function. Pass it to another function. Okay. This is one method. And coming to qualifier, I already teached you. Vehicle is an interface which had two child, bike and car, which I am trying to make dependency injection. But two childs are there, so it is confusing which child to inject. As a solution, I will create a qualifier. I will make the qualifier name. Okay. I will make the qualifier name above one of the class. That means above class name, above car class, I'm saying @first. Then while injecting also, I'm saying @first. Okay. So my output will be automatically linked to car. It will say car started. Now coming to JSF access to your class, you can have @named of h, so that in your JSF you can write h.id. This is very similar to managed bean, but here I'm writing @named. Okay. Then the remote based EJB and lookup. You may have remote interface for EJB. and remote class for EJB that you are injecting here. So you should use @EJB and lookup equal to the JNDI name. Okay, lookup equal to and JNDI name. The remote class should be stateless and the remote interface should be @remote. Okay, ma? Now, if you want to use constructor, initializing values, if you want to use constructor, then you should use @post construct, @post construct annotation. If it is stateless or stateful, then no need to worry. If it is a singleton, then you should use @startup also. So I'm using @startup. So it will create and initialize the value, okay, like a constructor. Now, the scope of the class can be request scope, conversation scope, session scope, application scope. Request scope until you refresh the page. Conversation scope in same tab. Session scope across the tab in same browser. Application scope across the browser also. Okay. How much your variable value is leaving. Okay. That is the scope. So where you will apply which class is interacting with your JSF. In that class, you might be applying, or else you might be applying this in REST service. In REST service. Okay, because REST service is interacting with the end user now. So there you might be applying. Then about this transaction attribute scope, you refer the page number 140 in PDF. Okay, there are some content to read. You read that content. It's short only. Then in transaction management, you are having transaction management, which is used to create transaction object and which will have tx.begin, commit and rollback. Okay, that's it. Okay, with this, I'm stopping my session. I hope so you understood. What I will do, I will give you this session.txt file to you for your reference so that you can refer it later. Okay. Thank you, students. I'm stopping my screen now. Okay. All the best for your exam. I will give you this file. Kindly go through all the annotations and go through the PDF page numbers which I given in this file. Okay. And go through the PDF also. Right. Thank you.